Welcome back to the Cracking FAANG YouTube channel. Today we're going to be doing episode 7 in my systems design series, and we're going to be doing a deep dive all about database replication. So let's start with the what and the why of replication. Replication is the process of keeping a copy of the same data on multiple nodes. These nodes are called replica nodes. But why would we want to replicate data? Well, if we replicate data, we could keep copies of it geographically close to our users, and thus reduce the latency in request times. If you have users in the Asia Pacific region, but they have to read from your database in, let's say, the US East Coast, then that's going to be a long request time. What if they had a data center in Singapore where they could read and get that data really quickly? So having a geographically close database is a pro there. We can also allow the system to continue serving read requests even if a node has failed, and thus increasing the overall availability of our system. If we just have one database and it goes down, obviously we can't read from the database or write to it. But if we have multiple database nodes, then that's no longer a problem. We can just read from one of the extra ones. We can also scale out the number of machines that can serve read queries. Let's say we have one database machine and it's handling all of our read requests. Well, it's going to get bogged down as the number of requests increase. Well, we can spread that load out across multiple machines and thus increase the throughput and not put single components under a large amount of stress. But in the real world, data is constantly changing, and how are we going to keep things up to date if we now have multiple machines instead of just one? We have a problem here. When you have multiple databases, how do you ensure that all of the new data ends up on the replicas? Because each new write needs to be processed by each of the replicas, otherwise the data is going to be out of sync, and that's no good. There's three approaches for replication. We can have a single primary or a single master replication, we can have multi-master, or we can have leaderless, and we'll touch on each of these momentarily. The first approach is going to be your single master approach. In this configuration, a single node is designated to be the leader or the master node. When a client writes to the database, they must send the requests to the master node. The master will then store the write in its own local storage, and the other nodes in the system are known as followers or secondaries or slaves. After the leader or master has written the data to its own storage, it will send the data changes to the followers as part of the replication system. The replicas will then take the new write information and apply it to their own local storage in the same order that they were received from the master. So let's look at an example diagram. Here on the left, we have, our master database, right? And here on the left, we have our master database, and on the right, we have our two followers. So any write requests that come in will always go to this master, and they will be replicated to the followers. The followers can never accept write requests, they can only accept read requests. So after the new data has been reflected in the followers, if a user queries for that new data, they'll get it. If they go to a follower that doesn't yet have the new data, they may get stale data. But can you spot a problem here? What happens when the master goes down? In the single master replication setup, if the primary or the master goes down, we have a big problem. Remember that the primary or the master node is the only node allowed to accept writes. So if any new write requests come into the system, they would fail because that node is offline. Users can still read data from any of the replicas, but obviously we have half of our database capabilities removed here. We can only accept reads, we cannot handle writes. And we're going to touch on how to recover from this later on in the video. Approach number 2 is multi-master replication. In this configuration, there are multiple nodes which can accept writes. Replication is still going to occur in the same way. Each node that processes a write is still going to need to forward that data change to all of its follower nodes. So some advantages over single master replication, and let's preface this by saying that multi-master replication is commonly used in a multi-data center configuration because it's quite complex to do it in a single data center setup, and the complexity usually isn't worth it. But we're able to achieve lower latency because writes can be processed by a local data center and then replicated to the other data centers, hiding that replication time from the user. We have easy failover because if one of the masters in one of the data centers goes down, writes can still be processed by the other master in the other data center. Similarly, if the network in one data center goes down, the others can still continue to handle the write requests. But are you seeing an issue here? Write conflicts. What happens if you write one data to the master in one database and a user writes for a similar field in the other database? They need to be replicated to each other, but if they both change the same field, you now have a write conflict, and you have to figure out which one is the actual data to go with because there's a conflict. We'll touch on how to recover from write conflicts in a future video as it's quite complex, and we're just going to move on to leaderless replication now. In this configuration, no one node is considered to be the leader, and thus all the nodes are able to process writes. All write requests are sent to a predetermined number of nodes in the cluster, and if enough nodes respond successfully, the write is said to be committed. When it comes to reads, multiple nodes are queried for the data, and version numbers are typically used to decide which data is the most up-to-date. How do we confirm writes or reads in a leaderless setup? Typically, you use what's called a quorum, and this is a configurable set of values determining how many nodes must confirm a write before it is considered to be successful. You can also set this value for the number of nodes to read from. And let's look at some examples, and we're going to first define some values. Let n be the number of nodes or replicas in our cluster. Let w be the number of nodes required to confirm a write, where w can obviously be less than or equal to n, where n, remember, is the number of nodes in the cluster. Similarly, r is the number of nodes required to read from, where r is less than or equal to n. So quorums come with a trade-off. So if w equals n, then all replicas will always have the most up-to-date data because all n replicas must confirm the write, but replication times may be high as it needs to go to all of the replicas, and if one node goes down, you cannot process writes because all n nodes need to confirm the write, and if one is down, then you cannot confirm that write. So if we were to relax this a bit and say that if w equals n minus 1, then we would allow for one failed node, w equals n minus 2, which allows for 2 failed nodes, and so on. If r equals n, then you're always going to get the most recent data, but you need to query all of the nodes, and if one is down, you cannot read data. You're starting to see that the values of r and w in a system are going to depend on the requirements of that given system. With smaller w and r values, you're more likely to read stale values, but you get the upside of higher availability and lower latency because you have to go to fewer nodes to confirm the write or for your read. And higher r and w values are going to increase the likelihood of up-to-date data, but come at the cost of higher latency, and the higher the values go, the less resilient your system is to failed nodes because you're going to need a certain number to confirm them, and if certain nodes are unavailable and you can't reach that value for w and r, then you can't actually read or write your data because you have to wait for those nodes to come back. So if we kind of look at an example here, if we have 5 replicas, and replica 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and we say w equals 3, then essentially what we need to do is have the write be confirmed by 3 of the databases replicas, and we can consider it to be fine. So if we send it to 1, 2, 3 and they confirm it, but 4 and 5 do not confirm it, that's fine because we have our 3 replicas which did. And if we have r equals 3, then we would just query the values from 3 of these. So let's say 3, 4, and 5 respond, but 1 and 2 don't, then we can use those for our actual read value. We don't have to wait for all of them. So again, tweaking these will depend on how you actually define the characteristics of your system. Some are going to want all of the nodes to basically confirm the write. Some can relax that a bit. It always depends on your system. So tweaking it will again come down to the requirements of your system. So when it comes to replication, we now have another trade-off, which is synchronous or asynchronous replication. What is synchronous replication? In this setup, the leader or the master must wait for confirmation from all the replicas that the write went through. Obviously, this ensures that all the replicas will have the most up-to-date data, but it also means that all new writes must be blocked until the previous write is confirmed from all of the nodes. This is really useful when you need to ensure that all nodes will always have the most up-to-date data. But it's problematic because if one node doesn't confirm the write, then the entire system grinds to a halt. And this is terrible for the availability of the system because you are waiting on that one node to confirm the write so that all other writes can go through, and you cannot go forward until that node finishes. So you have basically a single point of failure and any node not responding to a write, which is a big problem. To solve this, we have something that's called asynchronous replication. With asynchronous replication, the write is sent to the master, and then the write is sent to the replicas, but the master will not wait for the replica to confirm the write before it confirms the write as successful to the user. It will send the data to the replica, and it will say, okay, it's been sent. I don't know what's going to happen to it. I don't care. I've stored it on my database local copy, but it may or may not reach the replica, and that's fine. This has the advantage of speed, but sometimes writes can be lost because data is not guaranteed to be durable. Something can happen between the time that the master sends it and the replica is supposed to receive it. If the network cuts out or it receives the write but the data hard drive fails, then it's not guaranteed that your write is actually going to be applied to that node. So depending on the system, this trade-off may or may not be acceptable. Another issue is that obviously these nodes are machines and machines fail, and sometimes they have outages. So how do we handle this? So obviously any one node in the system can go down. What do we do then? And there's two parts to this problem. The first is when a replica node has an outage, and the second is when the master node has an outage. Let's touch on these one by one. So the first one is that there's an issue with the replica node, and this is really less of a problem. Each replica on its own local storage is going to be keeping a log of all the transactions it's committed. When it comes back online, it can check what the last transaction it processed was. The replica will then ask the master for the list of transactions it's missed since it went offline, get those transactions, and catch up by applying them to its own local database, and thus it's going to catch up to the master and can now start serving read requests again. So that's how you handle an outage with a replica node in general. What happens when a master node goes down? This case is a lot trickier. One of the replica nodes will now need to be promoted to the new master, and clients will need to be reconfigured to send all new writes to the master node. The other replicas need to now start accepting writes from the new master, and this process is what's called a failover. So what is the failover process? The first step is to determine that the old master node has failed. The second process is to choose a new master, and this can happen by an election process, or a predetermined controller node can be appoint the new master. And usually the best candidate is the one with the most up-to-date information. And the problem with choosing a new master is called consensus, and this is definitely an advanced topic, and we'll cover this in an advanced video later. And the last step is obviously to now use that new master. There's some issues with failover, and the first is if asynchronous replication is used, then the new master may not have received all the writes from the old master before it had failed. What happens if the old master comes back online? What happens to those writes between the time the old master happened and the new one started accepting writes? There's potential for conflicting writes here. There might be an issue where you actually have multiple nodes that think they are the master. So if a master node dies, a new one is promoted to the master, and then the master comes back and doesn't actually know that it has been demoted to a replica, it may now also think that it's still the master and start accepting write requests. And now you have what's called a split brain, where you have two masters and one of them doesn't know that it's actually not the master. And another issue is, how do we actually determine that the master is dead? If we have a long timeout, then that means that there's going to be a longer time to recovery. But if the timeout is too short, then it's going to lead to unnecessary failovers. So there's definitely a balance that needs to be struck here. Another issue that you're going to run in with replication is replication lag. And we've basically touched on this before, but let's kind of go in a little bit more detail. When you have asynchronous replication, a replica may lag far behind the master database node. Remember that with asynchronous replication, the master accepts the write, writes it to its own local storage, and then sends it off to the replicas, but it doesn't wait for that replica to confirm the write. So that replica may get quite far behind the master. Whereas with synchronous replication, obviously we always wait for the replica to confirm the write before going forward. This one, we kind of just ship it off to the replica and continue processing transactions. And that replica, like we said, may fall behind. And this can lead to inconsistencies in the database. If you run a query on the master and the replica, you might get different results because some writes haven't not yet been reflected on that follower. And this is usually temporary because the replica will eventually catch up, and this is where the phrase eventual consistency comes from. Alright, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this deep dive into database replication. The next video will be about database partitioning. Please make sure to like and comment on the video, as this boosts engagement and helps me tremendously with the YouTube algorithm. Please subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!